Okay, we're recording now, I know that. So once you get a smattering of the different land uses that you can pull up from the aerial itself. Now, I'm going to pick a craft brown or a desert tan or something that's visible for us here. And what would you say is the major street in this general study area? Well, for traffic probably, but culturally Walnut is the spine of the entire county, and is Walnut two-way its entire, well, let's see. Walnut is basically two-way now. So at the end here, I'm going to take the full chisel of the marker and I'm going to make an arrowhead. Looks like a little V or a little, and I'm going to go around and up and through and like so, and create the opposite arrowhead at the top. Okay. This is a craft brown, so it appears as a beige on camera. Okay. High Street is one way southbound, so you can do something like this because it feeds into the roundabout like so. And then Mulberry is one way northbound, so we can do something like this. There. Okay, so we can use the full chisel of the marker to create the arrowhead, and it creates a fairly even arrowhead there. How about east-west streets? Adams is two-way. Well, it's two-way now. It wasn't a couple years ago, but it is now. But is that a major east-west street or is that a minor east-west street? Well, if it's a medium or minor, we can use the heel of the marker and drag that heel across. And we can start to develop a little bit of a street hierarchy with that. Charles Street is two-way up to a point, right? Through my neighborhood, okay? And then it's one way going that way. Howard is essentially broken up, but I believe it's, I can't remember if it's one way or two way. Liberty is two way running north-south. Maine is one way running this way. Jackson is one way running east. So it starts to add more stuff, doesn't it, to our study here. And knowing which crossings are open and which ones are not, Jefferson, Elm, Madison, and the like. Madison, of course, is two-way. And then the railroad has a boundary is also a factor. So there might be a factor, or it might be a corridor in some of your work accordingly. Now, I'm going to slide some white paper underneath that now, because this diagram does not have to be comprehensive. It does not have to be exhaustive. It needs to basically look at some of the areas around your study area and the key streets, one-way streets, two-way streets, edges and boundaries like the railway or otherwise, just to start to illustrate what's happening on the ground in your general study area. Once you get that together, it's going to look something like this. And so it's pretty colors, but now we can bring our pens back and we can start to bring some body to what we're seeing here. So what I like to do now is take the Pentel Pilot Fineliner and create an outline around each of these new figures. And yes, it's intimidating because, you know, we're taught to stay in the lines, we're taught to draw a straight line, but guess what? We did the color first, so, oh, wait a minute. It's a bit different, isn't it? So because the color's already there, we can very loosely and very quickly, freely, start to develop some shapes around the color that's already there. And there's some conflict here. I probably would do this a little bit differently on my next draft, and if you mess up, you just put another piece of trace paper over it and do it again. It's with the translucent medium like this, there's going to be mistakes, and it's okay to make them because we can always put another piece of trace over it and try it again. It's always also helpful just to do a little bit with this and go back and go, well, I need to fill in a little bit more information here, but it's always good just to knock this out, take stock of what you've completed, determine if you've made any mistakes, and determine if you need to add in more information. Like the upper floor uses here, for instance, or the Hotel Roberts, or the law firm that has upper floor housing in it. What's so nice about the petroleum markers is that they basically dissolve the layer below them. So if you make a mistake, you can always displace the ink with more ink. We can also, on trace paper at least, we can basically erase ink by, I'll use sometimes a 10% gray marker or something like that and just obliterate what's below it if I make a mistake. But these are just very loose patches of color with loose lines over them. We did the color first, so we can just kind of follow them and create shapes based on what land use colors that we observed. And where's the hotel? Oh, whoops. Is the hotel housing? Or is it retail? It's a form of multifamily housing, so. Three Wiseman Restaurant certainly is retail. Or is it a training institute? Or I mean, the hotel is a weird one because it's a lot of different things, and because students who are enrolled in the training institute live at the hotel, so it starts to raise some questions about what kind of land use is it really doing, and yet it is a profitable business that uses support and things like other, public support, private support, things like that. Let's see, I forgot that tiny little park. There's a little park now in front of the hotel. So just tuck that in underneath the arrow. We can tuck in a little shape underneath the arrows. Okay, graphic hierarchy. Once we start getting our shapes in here, once we start, notice how we're using, the arrows and the streets are basically running in between our land uses. Things are starting to connect and overlap now. We can get in here and feel confident about what we've done and starting to graphically depict things. Now we can apply more hierarchy. Now, if all of these are all in the same line weight, aren't they? We've used the fine liner for all of this. So maybe there's a chance to bulk up the line weight. You can see I've still got a lot of information missing here, but I'll quickly start to think about. See, that's the bank, so that's all office. Then we get into Del Sol and Haymarket, and so there's, so it gets different in here. If we decide we get to a point where we're like, okay, it's reading pretty well, the colors and stuff like that, but it's all kind of massing together, we can come back and add more line weight. So I've got my sign pen now, and I will just, maybe add a little bit more line weight to the land uses, just to reinforce those edges. And you can always add line weight, very difficult to take it away. And because the lines are already there, it's hopefully not as intimidating to try to put the lines on the paper. And we can also distinguish buildings from each other. We can remember, if I can remember where the alleys are, we can help distinguish a building from an open space, or even if several buildings are connected, as the case of the convention center. That extra little bit of line weight creates a graphic hierarchy that makes the drawing more readable. We've got a big parking garage over here, so we've got the pass-through. I'm just going to use a light gray for that parking garage. That is city-owned. The city paid for it, so part of the deal of supporting the convention center and getting the training hotel to locate was building a parking garage for it. So part of that deal. Okay, so the graphic hierarchy of the different line weights working together, the graphic information of the different land use colors working together starts to depict a picture of what's going on the ground here.